Before we start, I need you to imagine something. You are sitting alone at the most beautiful wedding you have ever seen, and then his voice comes through the speakers. The man who left you, the man who has never met his own child. His face is on the screen, his song is playing, and every single person in that ballroom is looking at you. That is exactly where Simone Carter was on a Saturday night in October. Table 23, back of the room. Close enough to feel everything, far enough to give everyone else a comfortable distance from the situation. She had her champagne. She had her dignity. She had the emerald wrap dress she had sacrificed 3 weeks of grocery money to buy, and her grandmother's gold rings on her right hand, and 6 years of practice at holding herself together in public. What she did not have was any idea that the man about to sit down beside her would be the last person on earth she expected, and the one person who would change everything. Stay with me, because this story has a twist that nobody saw coming. Not even her. The wedding of Simone's cousin Camille was the kind of event that reminded you precisely how far your life had traveled from the road you once planned. Camille looked like a dream in $40,000 of lace, real flowers on every surface, French champagne, a DJ who actually knew what he was doing. The guests were beautiful and successful and arrived in pairs. And then there was Darius Cole's face on the screen behind the DJ booth. His song, the one that had gone platinum, the one Simone heard in grocery stores and dentist waiting rooms, and the background of her own nightmares, was Camille and Deshawn's first dance song. Nobody had told her. Simone picked up her champagne and finished it in one long, controlled swallow. She was a woman who had rebuilt herself from nothing after Darius signed a record deal and walked out of her hospital room 48 hours after their daughter was born. She was not going to fall apart at a wedding. She was not going to give anyone the satisfaction. "That looked necessary," said a voice from directly behind her, low, unhurried, the particular calm of someone who had nowhere more important to be. She turned. The man standing behind her was not from table 23. He was Korean. Tall for it, something she registered and immediately told herself was irrelevant. His suit had been made for his body specifically by someone who cared deeply about their craft. Sharp jaw, dark eyes that were steady and precise, the kind of face that gave nothing away unless it decided to. He was looking at her not with pity or curiosity, but with something rarer, genuine attention. "Marcus Yoon," he said and extended his hand. She took it. "Simone Carter." "The groom is my business partner," he said. "He ran out of space at the head table. And I'm here because my cousin loves me, but not enough to seat me anywhere useful." He sat down in the empty chair beside her. Not asking permission, not rude about it either, just decided. "I noticed you haven't moved in 40 minutes, he said. "I noticed you noticed," she said. He almost smiled. Fair. Now here's what Simone Carter did not know yet. Marcus Yoon was the founder and CEO of Yoon Capital Partners, a minority-owned impact investment firm that had made him one of the most quietly powerful financiers in the country. His parents had run a dry cleaning shop in Koreatown, Los Angeles, for 31 years. His father had pressed suits for men who would never invite him to the same table. Marcus had spent his entire career making sure that equation could be reversed. She did not know any of that yet. She did not know that the story she had spent 8 months investigating The story that was about to define her career, or end it, had a direct connection to this man that would make everything between them immediately and impossibly complicated. All she knew, right now, was that he had sat down without being invited, and he wasn't performing concern about how she was doing, and she hadn't laughed in a social setting in so long she had nearly forgotten what it felt like to want to. 20 minutes later, she laughed. The real one. The one that escaped before she could catch it. He looked at her when it happened, not with triumph, with something quieter, the face of someone committing a detail to memory. "How long since you did that?" he asked. She looked away. "That's a strange question. Most real questions are." Then Zara arrived. 6 years old, powder blue flower girl dress, locks coming loose on one side, small gold beads catching the chandelier light, the complete fearlessness of a child who had never once questioned her right to be in any room. She planted herself between the two adults with the authority of a very small general. "Mommy, can I have more cake? Baby, and not breathe." "I am breathing." Zara noticed Marcus. She did not do shy. She did assessment, the long, careful look of someone gathering data before rendering a verdict. "Do you know magic?" she asked him. Marcus reached into his jacket and produced a coin, showed both sides to Zara, closed his fist, opened it, gone. Zara's mouth fell open. She grabbed his hand and turned it over with the urgency of a federal investigator. "Where did it go?" "Somewhere safe." He reached toward her ear. The coin appeared. Zara made a sound between a scream and a laugh and grabbed the side of her own head to verify it was still there. And then, before Simone could say a single word, her 6-year-old daughter climbed into the chair beside this man she had met 4 minutes ago and positioned herself with great professional seriousness to learn the trick. Marcus took her small hands in his and walked her through the mechanics. 3 times, without rushing, without sighing, without doing it for her. "Perfect," he said when she finally held the coin correctly. "Exactly. Right." Simone looked at the dance floor, at the chandelier, at her own hands. She did not let herself look at the man who was teaching her daughter magic like he had all the time in the world for it. She made herself not look. Because if she looked, she already knew she was in trouble. The photographer found them at exactly the wrong moment. Or the right one, depending entirely on how the rest of the night would go. He was circling the room for candid shots when he landed on table 23. Marcus and Simone mid-conversation, leaning toward each other, Zara fast asleep across 2 chairs with her flower girl crown tilted sideways on Marcus's folded jacket. Perfect. The 3 of you. Just like that. "We're not..." Simone started. Marcus's hand found hers under the table. Warm. Still. Completely deliberate. She froze. He leaned toward her ear. His voice dropped to just above a breath. "Let me be your person tonight. Just tonight. I've seen the way this room looks. At you. You deserve to stop explaining yourself to people who already decided what your story is." The camera clicked. She did not pull her hand away. She knew it wasn't rational. She was a woman who had raised Zara entirely alone, a woman who had not let anyone past her carefully maintained perimeter since Darius walked out. A journalist who asked hard questions for a living and accepted easy answers from nobody. She was also 32 years old at a wedding where her ex's song was playing on the speakers. And this man had just said, "You deserve," and she was so tired of carrying everything by herself. "Just tonight," she said. "Just tonight," he agreed. What happened over the next 2 hours surprised her. Marcus Yoon paid attention the way very few people did. Not the performing kind, not the "I want something" kind. The kind that noticed she refilled her own champagne every time instead of flagging the server because she didn't like asking for things. The kind that caught the exact moment. Darius's face appeared on the screen again and watched her make a quiet, private decision to feel nothing about it. "You're good at that," he said. "At what?" "Deciding not to feel things in public." She looked at him sharply. He had said it without judgment, just observation. "Am I wrong?" he asked. She was quiet for a moment. "No," she said. At one point, her Auntie Rosaline materialized at the table under the pretense of checking on Zara, who was still asleep and in no position to need checking on, and spent 4 minutes studying Marcus with the focused energy of a woman running a background check. After she floated away, Marcus looked at Simone. "Your family is thorough," he said pleasantly. "You have no idea," Simone said. Zara woke at 9:30. She surfaced from sleep the way she always did, completely and immediately, like a computer with a fast boot. She took in the situation. Marcus still there. Her mother's hand close to his on the table. The eye wedding winding down. She nodded, satisfied with the data. "You're still here," she told Marcus. "Still here." She reached for a bread roll. Simone put her face in her hand. Marcus laughed, a real one, from somewhere low in his chest, the kind that filled up whatever room it was in. The sound of it stayed in the evening long after it was finished. If you're feeling this story, drop a comment below right now. And subscribe, because what happens next, nobody saw coming. The babysitter canceled at 10:45. Brianna, her neighbor's teenager. "Family emergency, so sorry." Simone stared at her phone and did the math. 40 minutes back to Crown Heights, Zara half asleep. The wedding's still going strong. Camille would never forgive her for leaving before midnight. "What's wrong?" Marcus had been watching her face. She told him. Short sentences, no drama. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "I have a suite here. 2 bedrooms. Take the second room for Zara. I'll sleep on the couch, or I'll stay somewhere else entirely. I have options." He said it directly, without any particular weight on it. "This is practical. I'm not suggesting anything else." She looked at him for a long moment. The journalist in her was still running angles. The mother in her was doing arithmetic about a sleeping child and a 40-minute drive. "I know you're not," she said. "That's why I'm considering it." Zara pronounced the suite a princess castle without the slightest irony and fell asleep in under 4 minutes on a bed larger than Simone's entire living room floor. Simone came back to the living area to find Marcus at the floor-to-ceiling windows, jacket off, tie loose, looking out at the city. Not performing for her arrival, not waiting to be noticed, just standing there, a man who was comfortable inside his own silence. She sat on the couch and tucked her feet beneath her. "Tell me about Yoon Capital," she said. He turned. "You looked me up. I'm a journalist. I had your name in the first 15 minutes. What do you want to know?" "Why minority impact investment? You had every door open. the profile in the Wall Street Journal 2 years ago. He came and sat across from her, not rushing, choosing his words the way a person did when they meant them. My father pressed suits for 31 years in a dry cleaning shop in Koreatown, he said. 6 days a week. He ironed the jackets of men who borrowed money from banks that would not lend to him. He needed a business loan twice. Both times he was turned away. He paused. The second time I was 17, old enough to understand exactly what had happened and why. No prepared quality to it. No talking point. Just the truth, offered plainly. So I spent the next 18 years building the firm that would have said yes to him. Simone was quiet for a long moment. She knew something about that particular kind of wound, the financial kind that dressed itself up as something neutral and bureaucratic, when it was anything but. Your turn, Marcus said. Investigative financial journalism. That is not the comfortable career path. She told him the real answer, not the practiced one, the real one, about her father, about the predatory lending scheme that stripped their family of the house, the business, her college fund, in the space of 14 months, about watching her father become someone she didn't recognize, about deciding at 18 years old that she was going to spend her career making visible the exact mechanisms that had been used against him. He listened without filling the space, without nodding performatively or rushing to relate. He just listened all the way to the end. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then, "What's the story you're working on right now?" She started to answer. Stopped. Something moved across his face, fast and controlled, but she was trained to catch things that moved fast. "You know something about this," she said. Not a question. He stood up, walked back to the window, stood with his back to her. "Marcus, get some sleep." "I don't think so." He turned around. His expression was guarded in a new way, not cold, but carrying something heavy and carefully managed behind it. "There are people I am protecting while I build a case," he said. "Business owners, Korean, Black, Latino, South Asian, who trusted me with their financial records. If I tell you what I know before the case is airtight, it falls apart, and they are left completely exposed." She felt the shape of it land before he finished. "And if I publish something incomplete, I tip off the wrong people, and it falls apart anyway." Yes. Simone's 8-month investigation, Marcus's 14-month case, the same story, the same villain, running parallel toward each other, and neither of them had known it when they sat down at table 23. "Give me 2 weeks," he said. "Give me a reason to. Because when it's ready, I want you to be the one who breaks it. You started from the people, not the prophet. I need someone who started from the people." The room was very quiet. The city turned below them. She looked at him for a long time. The journalist in her was running every angle. The woman in her, the one who had kept the drawbridge up for 6 years, was doing something else entirely. 2 weeks, she said. He nodded. They talked past midnight. Careful at first, then less so. About his parents' shop and what it smelled like on winter mornings, cleaning chemicals, and his mother's instant coffee. About what Simone's father had said to her the day they lost the house, which she had never repeated to anyone because it was too important to share carelessly. About the strange, specific loneliness of being the person in your family who made it, and what that cost. She fell asleep mid-sentence on the couch. She didn't remember deciding to. She remembered his voice, steady and unhurried, and the city blazing through the glass, and the particular feeling of being in a conversation that actually mattered. She slept better than she had in 3 years. 12 days. They texted every morning. He called twice just to talk. Not about the story, about Zara's strong opinions on the structural integrity of Lego buildings, about the print above Simone's couch, which led to an hour-long conversation about art that surprised both of them, about the things that were easier to say in the dark. It was a conflict of interest, and they both knew it, and neither of them stopped. "I know how to protect a story," she told him on the phone one night, lying flat on her apartment floor because her back hurt from the newsroom chair. "I don't always know how to protect myself." "What would protecting yourself look like?" "Being more careful with you than I'm being, and not protecting yourself." "This," she said, "exactly this." A pause. Then, very quietly, "I'm not being careful either." She thought about Marcus, Yoon's parents' dry cleaning shop, about the suits his father had pressed with his hands for 31 years while the door to capital stayed shut, about the fact that Marcus had taken that specific wound and turned it into something that opened doors for other people. She thought about that more than she wanted to admit. On day 14, her editor called her in and killed the story. She sat in Patricia's office and listened. The sourcing has problems. One core source has recanted. The liability exposure is too significant to proceed. Which source? I can't tell you that. Patricia. Which source? The CFO. The internal one. Simone walked out and went directly to the stairwell and sat on the stairs with her phone in her hand. The CFO had not recanted. She had spoken to him 2 days ago. She knew the difference between a source pulling back under pressure and a source who had been gotten to. She could hear it. In pacing, in breath, in which words a person chose when they were scared versus which ones they chose when they had been bought. He had not recanted. She called Marcus. "My story just got killed. Someone got to my source, someone who knew the exact thread to pull." "Simone, did you do this?" She asked it directly, the way she asked everything that mattered. The silence was 4 seconds long. She counted. "No," he said, "but I know who did. Come to my office now." Yoon Capital Partners occupied a corner of the 34th floor of a building in Midtown that looked, from the outside, like every other finance firm in the city. Inside, it was different. The walls had photographs, not abstract art, not diplomas, photographs of businesses, a pharmacy in Flushing, a restaurant in Harlem, a textile workshop in the garment district, a barbershop in Atlanta. Names and faces, the people the money had actually reached. Simone stood in front of the wall and looked at it for a long moment before Marcus appeared. "These are all Yoon Capital Investments," she said. "Everyone." She turned. He looked like he hadn't slept. He looked like a man carrying something that had been getting heavier for months and was finally close to being put down. "The man who got to your source is named Victor Aldridge," Marcus said. "He sits on the board of 3 of the investment vehicles your investigation was tracking. He is also the man I have been building a case against for 14 months. She kept her face still. She was very good at keeping her face still. "He found out about your investigation 6 weeks ago. We don't know how. Probably someone inside your publication. He has been running interference on both of us simultaneously. Marcus met her eyes directly. Your story and my case are the same story, Simone. They were always the same story. I didn't know it was you working it until the night of the wedding, when you told me what you were investigating. She took that in. And after you knew it was me? He paused. Honest pause, not strategic. After I knew, I moved faster. I am 2 weeks from the DA's office. If I bring them what I have now, it will hold. But if anything gets published before then, that tips Aldridge off. He will move assets and we lose the financial crimes case permanently. She looked at him. The journalist in her was running every angle, every implication, every possible play. And underneath that, something else was running too. Why are you telling me all of this? She asked. Right now, you could protect your case by staying quiet. I have no story. It's been killed. I have no leverage. You don't owe me anything. He looked at her steadily. Because you asked me directly if I did this. And you deserved a direct answer. He paused. And because after 12 days, I am not interested in protecting my case at the cost of being dishonest with you. The room was quiet. Simone understood something in that moment about Marcus Yoon that the Wall Street Journal profile had not captured and the Forbes piece had not captured either. His firm invested in minority-owned businesses because of his father's suits. Because of a specific, personal, unresolvable anger that he had turned into something useful. He was not doing it to be admired. He was doing it because the alternative, doing nothing, was something he had decided at 17 years old he would not live with. That was a different category of person than she usually encountered. 2 weeks, she said finally. I will sit on it. But when the case is filed, I want every source you have and first access to the documentation. Done. And I want to be the one who calls Aldridge for comment. The corner of his mouth moved. I wouldn't have it any other way. While also, she started. While also, he said quietly. 2 weeks, she said, for the second time. And after that, everything I have is yours. She didn't ask if he meant the story. He didn't clarify. Both of them already knew he meant both. 17 days later, Simone Carter's story ran in the Beacon. 14,000 words, 42 sources, the full financial architecture of Victor Aldridge's scheme, the names of 47 affected business owners, the paper trail that connected the board members, the shell companies, and the investment vehicles that had been designed to extract wealth from communities while presenting themselves as serving them. By noon, 6 national outlets had picked it up. By evening, the Washington Post. By the following morning, 2 senators and a House committee chair had issued statements. Victor Aldridge was arrested at 6:15 a.m. Patricia, Simone's editor, resigned before noon. The source of the leak that had killed the story traced back to her. She had been on Aldridge's payroll for 11 months. Simone Carter stood in her Crown Heights kitchen at 7:30 in the morning while all of this was happening and made her daughter's lunch. Turkey and cheese. No crust. Strawberries on the side. The square of dark chocolate that Zara had negotiated into the rotation 6 months ago on the grounds that dark chocolate contained antioxidants, and she had looked that up herself. Her phone rang every 3 minutes. She did not answer it. She was making her daughter's lunch. That came first. It had always come first. That was the rule she had built her entire life around, and the story of the year was not going to change it. The knock came at 8:20. Marcus. 2 coffees. The look of a man who had also not been answering his phone for the same reasons. "How did you know I'd be here?" she asked. "You walked Zara to school first. You always do." She looked at him. "You know my schedule." "I've been paying attention." She stepped back from the door. He came in. He looked around her apartment the way he hadn't allowed himself to before. The bookshelves covering an entire wall. The framed print above the couch. The gallery wall that was half press awards and half photographs of Zara at every age, mixed together without order or hierarchy, the professional and the personal, refusing to be separated because, in Simone Carter's life, they had never been. "You built this," he said. "Yes." "All of it." "By yourself?" "Yes." He looked at her. Something in his face now was open in a way she recognized because it matched something she had been feeling for 2 weeks and had not found the right words for. "You know what Zara asked me the last time I saw her?" "I'm afraid to." "She asked me if I made her mom smile because I wanted to, or because I was being polite." Simone closed her eyes. "I told her I wanted to." She said that was the right answer, but she was going to keep watching to make sure. "She is 6 years old. She is the most perceptive person I have met in a long time." He said it without irony, including in boardrooms. He crossed the room. He stood close, not hovering, not crowding. Close. The way you stand when you are done, pretending you want to be anywhere else. "Let me love you." Not a whisper this time. The wedding whisper had been a beginning. Careful, tested, offered at an angle. This was different. This was a clear, fully committed, morning light statement, with nowhere to hide in it. Not just tonight, all of it. The hard mornings, the complicated stories, the 6-year-old who researched antioxidants to negotiate chocolate into her lunch, your family checking my background at the reception table, the fact that my mother is going to ask you 17 questions the first time she meets you and mean every one of them as a compliment. He paused. "I am not asking you to be careful with me. I am asking you to let me be consistent for you. Because I have been paying attention since the night I sat down at your table, and everything I've seen has told me that you have been carrying too much alone for too long, and I would very much like to help carry some of it, if you'll let me." Simone was quiet for a long time. She thought about his father pressing suits for 31 years. She thought about her own father's face when they handed back the house keys. She thought about 6 years of making every decision alone, of being the only person Zara could count on, absolutely, of how much she had built from that necessity and how much it had cost her. She thought about a man who sat down at table 23 without being asked and stayed until Zara fell asleep on his jacket. She thought about a coin appearing from behind a small girl's ear in the candlelight of a wedding reception. She took his hand, the same way he had taken hers at the wedding. Not grabbing, just there, warm, still, chosen. "Okay," she said, simple as that. 6 months later, Zara Carter stood at the top of the staircase in Marcus's apartment in Harlem and announced to the dinner table below that she had decided she would become either a professional magician or a material scientist. The coin trick having led her through a series of questions that Marcus had patiently answered over 3 Sunday afternoons, to a fascination with how metals behaved under pressure. She was considering doing both. Marcus looked at Simone across the table. "She's yours," he said. "She absolutely is," Simone agreed. Zara descended the stairs, unhurried, the walk of someone who had never once doubted their welcome, and sat down and looked at the two of them looking at each other. "You're doing the face," she announced. "What face?" Simone asked. "The one where neither of you is saying anything, but you're both saying something." She gestured between them with her fork. "It's very obvious. I don't know why you think it isn't." Marcus picked up his glass. "She is terrifying." "She really is," Simone said. The real smile, the one she had spent years managing carefully and had stopped trying to contain somewhere around month 2. Zara took a very satisfied bite of her food and said nothing further. She had known from the moment a man at a wedding table had produced a coin from behind her ear and then looked at her mother like she was the most interesting person in a room full of chandeliers, that this particular story was going to be fine. She had known before either of them did. She usually did. If this story moved you, comment, "I felt that," so I know it reached you. Subscribe and hit the bell. Part 2 drops next week. Marcus meets Simone's family. Auntie Rosalind has opinions. You do not want to miss it. Share this with someone who needs to hear that being chosen completely on purpose is still possible.